Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia. Listen up. WynnBET is now live in all these states, and the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas has finally landed in online sports betting and casino play. From boosted parlays to live in-game offs on every major sport, WynnBET gives you the tools to win. Sign up today for your risk-free $1,000 sports bet. Download the WynnBET app now or visit wynnbet.com to start winning.
You're listening to Broncos for Breakfast with Nick Kendell and Scott Kennedy.
Welcome in, everybody. It is Tuesday morning. It's 7:32 a.m. Mountain Time, God's time, as I like to say. We're barely late, but we're within the air bar. You know, it's not that 15 minutes late or whatever. People know. Also, the stream wasn't quite set for us this morning, so we got to give it time to breathe just a second and get people in there so they can see that it is going live. So all you people who have subscribed, the little notification, the push notification, so that way you know it's time for another episode of Broncos for Breakfast. Get that coffee poured, creamer if you're the straight kind of black kind of guy. I love my dairy products. It's probably the Midwesterner in me, so I do add a little creamer. But good morning, Scott. How are you doing today?
Good morning. It feels like Seattle out there. I don't think it's supposed to stop raining in Atlanta until Saturday. So by the end of the week, I think we'll see animals lining up in twos in my front yard. I've got a canoe. I might put it to some good use.
Yeah.
So it's wet. It's wet.
Yeah, it's gonna rain here this rest of this week too. But in Seattle, it doesn't really rain the same. It's just kind of a constant mist. I think London and Seattle have very similar weather, but it's gonna be good. I'm definitely low coming off. I haven't got a chance to talk
to
you
more
guys.
cumulative water than Seattle.
I bet.
In Atlanta, we get more inches of rain because when it rains here, it rains.
Yeah, for sure. I know that everybody's probably a little bit down with the Broncos game on Sunday, but hopefully we can add a little bit of perspective now that we've had a chance to step away and remove the super emotional reaction from it. And I won't lie to you, I'm still riding a little bit high from the Iowa Hawkeyes beating the absolute pulp out of the Maryland Terrapins this week. So maybe that I've told you guys 100 times. I took off my Bronco fan cap and put on 2 Hawkeye caps at that point. So Hawkeyes versus Penn State this weekend is going to be lit. But let's get into it. Obviously, we're going to talk some Broncos Ravens today. What went wrong? What happened? Where do we go from here? And Vic Fangio as well. But this is, of course, Broncos for Breakfast. You guys can follow Scott and myself on Twitter, Scott at Scout Kennedy, and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, while you're there, follow us at Huddle Up Pod, as well as at Mile High Huddle. Guys, go to huddleuppod.com to get your swag on. I know that we got Broncos for Breakfast merch in now. I got the mug should be coming here soon.
I got my mug ordered over the weekend, so I'll still be drinking out of my Chelsea mug. This was direct from authentic, made in China, but I bought it in London. So it feels more authentic that way when I bought it at the Chelsea fan store. But I'll trade it in. I'm going to use my Broncos for Breakfast mug for sure.
We should, I guess, if we have like good streaks going, you got to keep the good mugs going, and then maybe switch it out when the Broncos lose.
Don't mess with a winning streak. If I learned anything, It was from Crash Davis. You don't mess with a winning streak.
Absolutely. Also, guys, make sure you're following us on Facebook, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, as well as facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Guys, if you're joining us on YouTube today, and gals, subscribe, like, and share. And also make sure you're following Scott's channel on YouTube at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. And do you want to tell the people anything about the...
Hold on one sec. My Facebook feed wasn't working, so I wasn't able to check out people like Dave coming in and dropping stars already. So I wanted to refresh that. If you see me looking over here, it's because I'm checking out and making sure that I'm not missing the all coming in with stars and that type of stuff. So Dave, thank you for doing that early. Still loves Locke, even though he's upset. We get it. I speak semi-emoji. I'm semi-literate in emoji speak. So, but I get to that.
For sure. And anything new going on as far as the giveaways, star content, sweepstakes, et cetera?
Yeah, it was last night. Mark Johnson won the Justin Simmons jersey.
Congrats, Mark.
Michael Ranquillo won a consolation prize, I believe. Christy won something on YouTube. And then this month, I don't know what the overall stars number is. I'm not sure if it's been set yet, but it's going to be Patrick Surtain. So it's going to be a Patrick Surtain jersey.
I'm glad that Surtain, he left the game with a chest injury. I think we all saw that in the Ravens game, but it sounds like he's going to be fine. So we need him out there, and we should be getting Ronald Darby back this week as well. Looks like the Broncos actually maybe need some secondary help. So as surprising as that sounds. So
Listen up, Broncos country. TickPick should be your first choice to buy football tickets because they save fans money by never charging any service fees ever. TickPick is the exclusive ticketing partner for the Huddle Up podcast and the Blue Wire Network.
Denver Broncos football is finally back, and there's no need to exhaust yourself searching all over the internet to find Broncos tickets anymore, because TickPick, that's TickPick, is the original no-fee ticket site and the only one you'll ever need as your go-to for all NFL tickets. TickPick got rid of all those awful service fees that the other ticket sites charge, which lets them guarantee the best prices on all of their NFL tickets. Don't believe it? If you can find better prices for the same seats on another ticket site, TickPick will give you 110% of the difference in the purchase price.
That's right, guys. When we were searching for tickets for the MHH meet and greet for Week 3 at home, Broncos versus Jets, TickPick had us locked down. So visit tickpick.com/huddle today and use the promo code HUDDLE to save $10 on your first order of Broncos tickets.
Let's say hello to everybody that's in here right now before we really get going. EJ's in the house. Good morning to you, EJ. EJ says, good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Obviously want to say hello to Dave again. Thank you so much for the super chat, stars, whatever's going on there. EJ also says, let's beat the Steelers. Big Ben looks old. Yeah, Big Ben. I feel like Big Ben this year is like what we would have seen if Peyton Manning had played one more season. You know, it was like last year. It's like, this is not going so well. And if Peyton would have come back one more year, that's what we're getting with the 2021 version of Big Ben. Have you watched much Steelers? I know that we kind of had it back and forth in the off season as far as the viability of the Steelers. I just thought Big Ben.
Yeah, mine was based more on feelings than actual science and data. So my thoughts on the Steelers surround Mike Tomlin, and basically they're always going to be good as long as they've got Mike Tomlin. Obviously, that's not the case, but I'm just a big fan of his, and they've been, they're usually good a lot more than they're bad. And I think they're always a team to respect. And he might be my favorite coach of all time in the NFL. Honestly, I'm a big fan of his. So I like what he's done up there.
Good. Yeah, it's going to be a tough game this upcoming Thursday. This coming Sunday. Obviously, we'll get into it more on Thursday. But Broncos, most of the time they take the field, even though they had a down game, I would say, against the Ravens. I would say they're most of the time going to be the best defense on the field. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case in Pittsburgh this week, so that could be interesting, especially given the Broncos' unknowns at the quarterback going into this upcoming game. But
the way the Broncos are dropping like flies, you never know. I mean, it's tough. I don't know if it's someone's got a John Elway voodoo doll or what. What's someone's got. What's your mascot's name? I don't know your mascot's name, but they're
Miles.
It's like let's get that thing. Let's start sacrificing stuff. Let's make a call to the gods. This injury stuff's ridiculous, and some of it now is forcible. Some of the stuff we saw this weekend was on the dirty side. Teddy Bridgewater going out, Deontay Spencer going out. Those are illegal hits.
Man,
that's different than I landed wrong and twisted my knee. That's not a freak injury. Those were illegal hits that cost you a couple of players on Sunday.
Yeah, nope, absolutely.
That's college. I mean, at worst, that's a flag. That's in college. Those guys are sitting out this game and part of the next one.
Yep. No, that was not a great game overall. The Ravens are obviously a good team, maybe one of the better ones in the AFC. But we'll see how it plays out. It's just one game. We got 13 more to go, so we're not gonna freak out too much about one loss. But it felt like a bad game. Daryl's in the house. Broncos need to find a new backup quarterback. Daryl, I think your bet is made for this season. So enjoy what you have, or control the controllables there. But we might see Drew Lock this week, and he might have a good game. But we're going to figure out about the quarterback.
You might not like Drew Lock, but who really goes in with a competent backup quarterback? It's a starters league, and if the starter goes down, the season is significantly changed for pretty much every team in the NFL. That's everybody. Everybody wishes they had a better backup quarterback, unless they don't like the starter. Then the backup quarterback should be the starter. Yeah. And then they don't like the guy that becomes a backup quarterback. But I don't think anybody feels real good about their backup quarterback situation. If they do, it's because they don't like their starter.
Yeah, or they're a team that invested in like a first round rookie, and they have that spot starter. Like I bet you the 49ers fans feel really good about their backup quarterback. Like
Right.
that kind
And
of
that's
thing.
because they want him to beat out the star.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
the starter's playing at a huge level, then they're like, okay, well, it's good. That's good. We'll wait for Trey Lance. Or, in Chicago, the same thing.
Yeah, we have Dave coming in. Dave, I'm 100% with you here. It's very upsetting. I have a bad case of Chargers quarterback envy. There's a reality out there that plays out where the AFC West has the 2 best quarterbacks in the entire NFL for the next decade. And that scares me. But hopefully that doesn't turn out to be the case. But Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes look like about as good of quarterbacks as you're going to see in the league. And Broncos are going to have to find themselves that, or they're going to have to build a juggernaut roster around the quarterback consistently, which is hard to do. But it's going to be a tough field to till for the AFC West for the next decade with those quarterbacks.
Well, and real quick, Facebook user, who we don't know who that is, says that Facebook is having a problem getting on Facebook. Just in case, I'm going to drop this the link to the YouTube link in all of the chats. So if you wanted to hop over and click on that, maybe you can watch it on YouTube, and that would be okay. That's fine as long as you're with us. We're happy. You don't have to be logged in or anything, I don't think. But that's the YouTube link for that I just put in all of the in all of the chat. So hopefully you can find your way over.
And Facebook user also says go Hawks. So I'm steering into that one because I'm looking for sunlight here after the Broncos let me down this week. Jeremy Sean says, good morning, fellows. Don't be trying anything funny the last 3 seconds of this podcast. Did we do something funny the last time?
I was racking my brain. I don't remember doing anything that was a little off the wall, but
we had trouble
kind of off the wall. So
there was that one show.
Remember.
Maybe it was that one show where we had trouble disconnecting because there was an issue with StreamYard, but I don't know.
I said, I'm not saying anything that I'm going to regret. Yeah. That one said, the Facebook one said it wasn't disconnect. I'm like, as far as I'm concerned, we're still live.
Yeah, exactly. Jason O'Neill, is there a disconnect between coaches and players? What happened during the game as I didn't get to see the game? Teddy didn't do well and the coaches didn't help either. The Broncos said, Lamar Jackson, we think you can't beat us through the air. We're going to play, pretty basic coverage. We're going to give you guys some free routes, some space for that. We don't think Lamar can hit those consistently enough, and we're going to make sure that Lamar doesn't kill us with the ground game. And obviously hindsight's 2020. Maybe they should have, relented a little bit of the ground game for Lamar, especially with the back injury. But Lamar hit those throws consistently. And I feel like the Broncos also, it's really easy, again, captain hindsight here, but the Broncos were running the football here. I got the data right here. 6.2 yards per carry. And the pass game was dreadful. Yards per pass, 3.5. Woof. So we saw the first 3 weeks, a lot of teams were stacking the box and saying, okay, we're not going to let the run game beat us. Teddy beat us. This week, it seemed like the Ravens were saying, okay, we're going to blitz. We don't think that your offensive line can hold up long enough against that blitz to get those deep shots. And we think we'll relent a little bit of the run game, but you're not going to beat us through the air this week with Teddy. Teddy had a bad game. Drew Lock also came in and did not play very well either. But the run game, going away from the run game was a disappointment. That's one of those things. I think it was the week 1 game with the Giants where I said the Broncos needed to be almost stubborn about not going away from the run game. Even if it starts to feel like it's going away a little bit, you got to keep that balance. And that was especially true this week with two, first time starting guards. The way how quickly they went away from the run game was really upsetting. And that's probably my biggest disappointment in this game, other than I'll call it theatrics coming from Fangio after the game. But going away from the run game was upsetting.
Well, Steve, we appreciate the stars also coming in. My feed on Facebook isn't refreshing, so if I miss you, I apologize. We'll try and go through. It's fairly quiet in here. I think people are on their Broncos for breakfast hangover right now. But if you look at the previous 3 games, getting back to your point, Nick, it's not like, I've used the reference enough times that people are probably sick of it, but the Broncos have been kind of a constrictor. If you look in the second quarter of the first 3 games, game was close, if not behind. I think it was 7-3 in game 1. It went, pretty late in the second quarter. It didn't start to get some breathing room until the second half.
Yeah.
So this is a team that tries to wear you down, tries to squeeze the life out of you, and tries to run the ball and use their defense and force you into making mistakes. That kind of went out the window when Teddy Bridgewater comes up with a concussion. So it's like, I'm okay. It's 14-7. That's okay. The Broncos have been behind before. They've been in tight games in all of these games. They're not just blowing everybody out in the first quarter and then cruising. That's not how they've been playing. They've been slowly but surely extending their lead until the fourth quarter. It feels pretty comfortable. Yeah. So I'm okay with that. But then all of a sudden, what did I read? 5 running plays in the second half with Drew Lock. You weren't that far behind, and you were running the ball really well in the first quarter.
Yep.
That I think you went away from who was probably your best player in Javonte Williams and basically take him out of the game for you. And all of a sudden you're saying, the Ravens are saying Drew Lock can't beat us. Well, he didn't.
No.
He didn't. Teddy Bridgewater can't beat us.
Yep.
He didn't. I don't know if he would have, maybe not. But the track record of the sustained type of offense was pretty good, but they went completely away from that in the second half.
Yeah, and if you guys recall, and I'm sure Scott will recall too, coming into this game, I said, what was a key? I said, quick start. If you can get on the board first, and then you can kind of dictate the game, I think you got a pretty good chance against this Ravens team. Now, Lamar blew me away with how efficient he was passing still, but that Albert Okwuegbunam drop touchdown where the Broncos, I think, first drive of the game would have been up 7-0 off the hoof. I mean, that completely
looked
changes
a little off
the game.
balance, didn't he? Kind of stumbled as the ball kind of flew over him.
Yeah. That would have completely changed the game. You already have 7 on the board. Then you're feeling good. The Ravens might change how their defense looks. Teddy might be starting to get into a rhythm there because Teddy as good as Teddy looked the first 3 weeks, this was a bad game. He was missing throws. His placement was not great. He just didn't look comfortable.
And like I said, I feel like there's been pockets of that in every game so far.
Yeah.
It's just then he goes on a 7-for-7 streak and then the numbers kind of even out. Would he have been able to do that against this team? It's a different team for sure. Mm-hmm. But we never got a chance to find out. So hopefully he's healthy and we'll come back and play in the next game against the Steelers.
Yeah, no, we hope so, but we'll see. If not, we'll get a chance to see Drew Lock. And as we said in this season, the reason you keep a quarterback like Drew Lock, who is competent, maybe, not a viable franchise quarterback, but somebody who can spot start in the very least, is because you might lose Teddy Bridgewater for a game or two. And you feel much better about squeaking some games out with a Drew Lock than a Brett Rippon, even though Rippon is, they protected him and he's 1-0 or whatever. But with the margins for error the Broncos have, yeah, exactly. With the margin for error the Broncos have, that's what you need to be able to do. So we'll see here. Kareem Gomez, are we expecting any players to return from injury this week? It does sound like Ronald Darby's going to be back this week. How much are you going to need Ronald Darby versus Ben Roethlisberger, who won't throw the ball past the sticks? I don't know. We'll find out. But it's good to have the depth there. You want to have those guys. I'm just poking fun at Big Ben.
All of it's nice, though, to give the pass rush a little extra time and vice versa. Mm-hmm. There's synergy there. We saw it both times on that Hollywood Brown long pass. There were 5 in the rush. That first one, that diving catch, there were 5 in the blitz. It didn't feel like it, because that pocket set up nicely, and all 5 of them are standing there on the wrong side of their offensive lineman. And Lamar Jackson had all day to throw, but that actually was a blitz. Yeah. So, having a little bit more coverage, just like like I said, it works. They work together. You pressure the quarterback. You don't need to be as close in coverage. You get a little bit tighter in coverage. It gives your pass rushers a little bit more time. Neither of those things happened in the passing game against Lamar Jackson. He had all day, whether you're sending 5, 4, he had all day to throw, and there's too much talent on an NFL team to give any NFL quarterback all day to throw.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate game in that regard. The Broncos were really missing. I would say they were missing Bradley Chubb in this game. Shelby Harris has been amazing against the run this year, but his pass rushing has been pretty much non-existent. I don't know if I think he has a wrist injury.
It's a different type of rush, though. Yeah. I mean, it's like, he's been great against the run, but they're not running the ball in a traditional fashion. It's speed. You got to have speed. Mm-hmm. Having a typical 3-4 with 300 pounders up there, and you got a half a ton in your 3-4 defensive lineman, that might clog up the front, but you better have some speed to get to the edge. And on that Latavius Murray touchdown, Jonathan Cooper ducks inside and turns and runs. Latavius Murray goes right by him. Alexander Johnson's in pursuit, and they didn't have a chance. They did not have the team speed in order to get to the edge. Now, Cooper should have done a better job of making up for his lack of elite speed and setting the edge better. He got sucked in and then tried to mirror his running back on the run option. He couldn't catch him. Yeah. But there was a lack of overall team speed in your linebacker position right there that cost you against the Ravens. So
yeah, that's something that there was a major disconnect, I would say, last year with the Broncos fans and like what the team is actually built at for linebacker and what the linebackers they'd want could bring. Like people are looking for a Luke Kuechly like coverage backer, and I didn't see that in the class last year. But the Broncos don't really have a sideline to sideline coming downhill sweeper type at the linebacker position either that could really help against a team like the Ravens, where sometimes when that linebacker's wrong, they're still right because they have enough makeup speed to get to that edge. Maybe not against Lamar Jackson when he's healthy still, because he's just
but Latavius Murray on a run pass option, you can slow them down enough that your Mike gets a read and he can get to the sideline before he can turn it up, because they had no chance on them. But the Broncos defense, they were outmanned on that play.
Yeah, and I want to get to this real quick. Corey Hills. Obviously, if you're going to Denver, you got to check out if you have the means, either Elway's or Shanahan Steakhouses. And I've been to Denver a couple times, and obviously being from Iowa, most of the time I'd go up to Estes Park and do some mountain things. But in Denver, I always enjoyed going to the Great Divide Brewery and get myself a couple of different versions of the Yeti Stout. So it's good times. Hope you have a good time, Corey. Bama X saying I'm a man and I can admit when I'm wrong. That's a good step. I was wrong about Justin Herbert. A lot of people were. It's all good. We got Lou Colts. I think we need more solid wide receivers and cornerbacks. Broncos went into the season about as good as they could be at wide receiver and cornerback. It's just the injuries have killed them. So I don't know. It happens sometimes. Django coming in. Sup, guys? I hope we draft a dark horse quarterback next season and fire the coaches that need to be fired. Just one game. I'm pretty disheartened about what we got from Vic Fangio after the game, complaining about the 100 yards from the Ravens when the Broncos also used, I think, 3 timeouts in the last 30 seconds of the game. And I think that's very much I've been not staunch, but I've defended Vic Fangio pretty consistently in the past. This feels like a deflection for me. We're going to make this the end of this game about something else, not about how our shortcomings and how we failed the fans and this team in the biggest game they've had in a while. I think it's a deflection.
It's petty. He made it personal and he made it petty, and it looks like sour grapes when you're on the end of a beatdown.
Yep.
It makes you think that you're just not. It just makes me feel like you're not cut out for this job.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way I said that. Who was the Wisconsin coach that came down to Arkansas? Brett Bielema.
Brett Bielema.
Brett Bielema was up at Wisconsin complaining about Ohio State Urban Meyer recruiting too hard and breaking some of the gentlemen's agreements that we had in the Big Ten. I'm like, and you're going to the SEC? Good luck. You're not going to make it, man. This isn't for you. And when you're turning this game around, when you were pretty well dominated about something like that, about a 5-yard running play, we see people run out the clock all the time with just a dive up the middle. I mean, big deal. I thought John Harbaugh handled his press conference extremely well, and I was disappointed. I certainly don't have the emotional attachment and the long running bias of positive or negative feelings against Vic Fangio, but that was not a good look for him at all.
Yeah, it's just petty's a great word. Deflection was one that came to me. Like, you have to answer some questions, and the Broncos, why did it look this poorly? What was the game plan? Was your game plan the wrong call? Like I feel like they neutered the pass rush somewhat to really contain Lamar, and maybe sometimes you kind of have to do that, but it didn't work.
If you look at the entire game plan and the way the results happened, where it was almost like, by God, I don't care if we win or lose this game. I'm exaggerating.
Yeah.
I don't care if we win or lose this game. We're going to break this GD streak right here. It's going to end. They're not going to do this against us. And instead, Lamar Jackson goes out and throws for his second highest game in his career and torches you on offense. But by God, we didn't give up those 100 yards until that last play. And you saw his reaction. And it was almost like that meant more than the game itself, which is personal, petty.
Yeah.
And it
wrong
was
thing to hang your hat on.
It's wrong. It was wrong. I like Kareem Jackson. He's like, man, I don't give a is what he said. I don't care. We got beat. That's what matters. And we needed to be better. That's what matters.
Yeah, and unfortunately for the Broncos, both their starting safeties were 2 of the lowest graded players, according to Pro Football Focus, in this last game. Justin Simmons with a 36.2, tied for the Broncos' worst grade. His coverage grade of 29.6. There's obviously
most of his was in coverage, because Kareem Jackson is a scary man in run support.
Yeah,
he's a scary man in run support. I wanted to hit Andrew real quick.
Let's do it.
He came in with the stars on Facebook too. I says, why do the refs constantly swallow their whistles whenever we play the Ravens?
I hate that.
And some of that, to me, there's a difference between, all right, these guys are letting this play too much. They're getting away with holding. They're getting away with pass interference. But when you start endangering players, something's wrong. Something's wrong. And whether or not you agree with it, because I was showing that hit on I've told y'all before, one of my baseball dads played 8 years in the league, and he's my age. So, basically anybody my age and anybody that played in the league and lived through all these big hits is like, the NFL's soft now. I said, soft or not, you cannot touch the quarterback's face, not from his chin strap up. You cannot touch his head. He got hit in the face. He got a concussion. That's a penalty.
Yeah.
Any three ways about it, that's a penalty. We referenced the phrase hospital ball last week. And I said that those plays were basically made illegal. You're not allowed to hit a guy who's not looking when you throw him in a truck. Now, Teddy Bridgewater threw that ball under duress, got the ball away, sees an open man. He doesn't have time to see in the coverage. He sees a guy who's trying to get it away. But that is a hospital ball.
Yeah.
And that's an illegal hit. That you're not allowed to do that. That's targeting. That's defenseless receiver. That's all of it. That's endangering players. That's a problem with the NFL refereeing yesterday.
Yeah, not great. Not great. This one, the Broncos were just so severely outclassed, though, that the Ravens probably got away with a little few hits here or there, but Broncos had a few good hits on Lamar as well after when he was running, trying to punish him a bit. And the Broncos, the game wasn't within a small enough margin where like one or two calls like that made the difference, in my opinion.
Yeah,
maybe, but.
No, I'm not talking about the game. I'm just, going into the question about Andrew Lampeys. Why do they seem to swallow their whistles? And I'm like, you normally see that with the holding and the getting away with pass interference. But when you're going head hunting, that's different. And I don't think the OA hit on Teddy was dirty. I don't think that was dirty. That was just unfortunate. He's 6'6" and comes in and, he hits him high. The hit on Spencer, that's dirty. That's illegal. You're not allowed to do that. That's a dirty hit.
Yep. And I know that the Pro Football Focus grades aren't the end all be all, but I just want to circle back here. Broncos abandoning the run game when they have two offensive linemen against a blitz heavy team. And you're running the ball as efficiently as you are. Netane Moody, everybody's been, who can we bench to start Netane Moody? Netane Moody comes in with a 3.0 out of 100 pass blocking grade in that game. He was very bad in pass blocking, but a 3 out of 100. I've never seen a single grade that bad in my life. It was rough. It was a rough game for Moody.
I haven't been as high on him as some of the other mile high huddlers from what I've seen. He just isn't moving laterally that well.
No.
So thinking that he's going to come in and be the answer, I'm not sure where that's coming from. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I haven't personally seen it. Not saying he doesn't have a bunch of potential, but right now I think he's a liability, and you do not want him as to be starting. Love to be wrong. Those are the kind of things I like to be wrong about. But that's how I feel right now.
A 3 out of 100 is absolutely terrible. Now, Calais Campbell had him, Calais Campbell's arms are like a whole arm length longer than Moody's. But still, that's concerning. Derek Player coming in. Any update on Chubb? No update on Chubb that I've heard. I think I put the bye week as a check-in on Chubb time. He might come like a week before that. He might come down the stretch here. But the Broncos have one game against the Raiders, 2 games against the Chargers, 2 games against the Chiefs after the bye week. That's when you're going to need Bradley Chubb. And I know that a lot of people are – Malik Reed's a fine edge rusher, but you are taking a step back in what you can do with a Malik Reed to a Bradley Chubb. So hopefully he'll come back and be healthy, and that can really give you a big boost to that defense down the stretch, because the pass rush has been, outside of Von Miller, Draymond Jones and Von Miller have been good. Haven't got it from Shelby. Malik Reed's he's gotten some sacks, but he hasn't been a consistent pressure player. So hopefully it'll get better. Michael coming in here. Michael Ronquillo over on Facebook. Thank you so much, Michael. And I believe the stars here too, because obviously he wants to win some more. Good morning.
If not, Michael, you do enough across all the shows that you get us. We're going to call you out whether we can tell or not. And I can't tell. There's not a lot going on Facebook right now, and that's probably a residual effect from the Facebook outage yesterday. We certainly appreciate you being here. So just wanted to say, hey, and congratulations on the medium blue Justin Simmons jersey, I believe, as I was watching the chat last night. So congratulations, man. You deserve it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. Thanks so much, Michael. We got Leroy coming in here saying, I'm sorry, but Coach Fangio doesn't blitz enough for me. No way in the world I would have let Lamar Jackson hang in the pocket and pick us apart. Just tired of this coaching staff. Time for a change. I think I'd take a step back there, Leroy. There's plenty of reasons to get upset with Vic Fangio, but I don't think the good teams don't have to blitz to get pressure. The Goldilocks zone for defense is getting pressure with 4 and being able to drop 7. And the Broncos decided strategically that they were going to say, Lamar, you're not going to beat us with your legs. You're going to have to beat us through the arms. And we don't think you can consistently find the open guy and make the right throw. They bet wrong. And you saw that start to change down the stretch. Now, is this because the Broncos are so injured on the defense? I mean, you're missing guys literally on every single level of the defense, good starters, maybe. But Lamar puts you in a unique situation from a defensive scheme point that no other quarterback in the NFL does. So I'm willing to give, from a scheme perspective here, the benefit of the doubt to Fangio. And hopefully we'll see better next week against the Steelers. But, sometimes I think you said it too, like the Broncos, maybe they were a better team or whatever, but Lamar was the best player on the field. And sometimes the MVP like that is going to flex. And he had a game like that. So
yeah, on Saturday night, we were doing predictions. I said, I think that Denver might be overall better day to day. Not on any given day, any team is better, but on a long enough timeline, I think healthy again. I think Denver might be better than this Baltimore Ravens team. You cannot let Lamar Jackson be the best player on the field. It's not easier said than done. The guy's a superstar. He was the best player on the field, and he beat you. That's going to happen.
Yeah, and I feel like, again, the Broncos, they lost this game, but it was only 23-7. And this game's defense did not play like the best defense in the NFL. But the issue for this game isn't the defense. The issue for this game is the offense. There's going to be a point, we said it all season. We said the first 3 games, maybe it's not the case for the Broncos where the offense isn't going to have to keep up. You're going to have to keep up with the Ravens, the highest proficient offense the last 3 years combined. And this was a game where the offense only put up 7 points. Not efficient, not extending drives. I think they had 10 punts on the game. The fact that the defense only gave up 23 points is actually pretty surprising. I think they were outs. I think the Ravens also had almost 15 more plays than the Broncos too. So 23 points isn't great, but when you're only putting up 7 and you're that inefficient on offense, it's hard to do anything. It's very much deja vu for what the Broncos teams have been the last few years, where defense is eventually going to wilt because the offense is not getting it done.
On our gambling numbers, I had the under. I missed Denver. I said, but I feel good about the under on this one. I had the under by 7 points. You didn't know. Again, you don't know is the red zone problem right now, was it almost designed because there was no urgency, or was it because they're struggling? And when you got 2 new guards on the offensive line, it's going to be even harder to get yourself out of short yardage situation. Now, one of the comments I wanted to touch on that I saw in the chat last night was about screen passes. Now, I absolutely agree that I think they gave up on the run too early. But I watched Denver try and come out with a couple of screen passes, and I watched who's it, Bowers, and then the other edge, Adofa Owe, Jason. I'll call him Jason for right now. Owe come in, and they were in the quarterback's face so fast that they couldn't even set up a screen. Yeah. So the athleticism on that front by Baltimore almost negated the screen pass. So maybe you go to a wide receiver screen to some of those big wide receivers, but we saw that. I don't like it on 3rd and 10. Maybe you do that a little early, but I did see a few screen passes, and they got blown up quick because you didn't even have time to set it up because the Baltimore defensive front was so athletic. And I think the guy I compared Owe to was LeBron James. I'm like, who else is this type of athlete at that size that I can even think of? 6'6", 250 pounds, running in the 4.3s with a 40-plus inch vertical and an L cone and shuttle time like a cornerback. He's an absolute freak in nature. And Nick, like I said, I like seeing him go around the edge where he got his first sack. I don't want to see him coming back inside unless you free him up. He's too fast. Maybe a delay stunt. Otherwise, turn him loose. He got his sack coming off the left end against the right tackle. And I don't think – was that Massey? I'm not sure Massey laid a finger on him.
Yeah, that's the fact that you have a guy with the body type that he has, with the athleticism he has. Those are my favorites. The guys who are big enough to play athletic enough to play 9 technique and reduce all the way down to like 5 and 3. Chef kiss, man. I love it. That's why a big reason for this upcoming draft. I'm a huge fan of Aiden Hutchinson at Michigan and George Karlaftis at Purdue. You know, those 6'5", 265 to 275 edge rushers. You can do a lot with those guys. Lawrence coming in. I missed a lot. I'm going to have to go back. Good morning, guys. Good morning to you, Lawrence. It's okay. We're just kind of hashing out here. It's good vibes. I mean, the Broncos maybe lost, but like I said, guys, one game. The Broncos
they weren't going to go undefeated.
Nope. They were not. And you knew that. I mean, we kept saying it on here. Like, Teddy Bridgewater is leading the league in completion percentage over expected and EPA per play. He's going to regress. It's going to happen. He is not the best quarterback in the NFL. He maybe can finish the season top 15, top 10. Still, I mean, there's just one game. But the Broncos were going to stub their toe at some point. This was a wake-up call game. Now it's really on this coaching staff, the leaders in that locker room to, rally the troops and say, okay, we had a stinker. It's going to happen. We're going to move on. And we got Zach H saying, true. If our guys lose morale, we're going 8-9. Well, luckily for the Broncos, they already have 3 wins in the bank.
Right.
So it'd be pretty hard.
That's my point on this. You get that 3-0 cushion. Would you say Denver's at least a 500 team? Should be, right?
They should be.
You go 500 the rest of the way, you're 10-7. That's playoffs. Mm-hmm. Now let's roll the dice and see what happens. Try and get everybody healthy come January. But that 3-game cushion, that helps a lot. The basic math on that, 10-7 should be a playoff spot. And, even if you win one extra one, 11-6, where's my head this morning? 11-6 looks really good. So, and I think it may have been Jeremy Shawn that said earlier before he got into a verbal spat with a guy I put in a 5-minute timeout because he was annoying my chat feed here. It's not that you lose, it's how you lose. Yeah. When you're sitting there, when you're mad that everybody's saying they haven't played anybody, wait till they play the Ravens. We're like, all right, we're going to play the Ravens. And the Ravens are the bullies. And they come in and bully you. And basically everybody who says you weren't ready just gets to smile about it. Again, that doesn't matter at the end of the day. But right now, after a game like that, you're like, son of a, here I was thinking, they were right. And I don't like being that wrong. So, and that's what's hard about it now. But that all goes away in a week. You come out of the Pittsburgh game 4-1. It's all forgotten. Now you're 4-1. Forget about it.
Yeah,
so,
no, I totally agree
next
with
game.
you there. 100%. And yeah, we need to win this week. That's absolutely correct, especially then getting momentum with the Raiders coming to Denver the week after that. But going to Pittsburgh is going to be tough.
And welcome back. I hate simps. Just remember, this is a Broncos podcast, and please be respectful to our users. And you're welcome to come in here and talk Ravens with us. So the mistake people make is thinking Lamar can't throw and loading the box will stop him. Lamar's got a fantastic arm. This might be your first time in one of ours, but I've said he's the closest thing that I've ever seen to Michael Vick, where you've got a guy who's the best athlete on the field playing quarterback, and then he's got a flick of the wrist 60 yards. Yep. It's not the prettiest throwing motion in the world. That's okay. Phillip Rivers, I still can't believe he's a quarterback. The way he throws a ball, it's just weird. I grew up with Bernie Kosar, guys that just you wouldn't ever think are a quarterback that were really good. Lamar Jackson is an MVP for a reason, and you're not going to be an MVP being Taysom Hill. You got to be able to throw the ball, and he is a good enough passer to be an excellent quarterback, and he showed that on Sunday.
Yeah, and I want to get to Leroy here. Can I ask you this? If we lose to the Steelers the way they play football right now, the season is over. In his opinion, you still got 12 games left, and you'd be over 500. Now, what makes it really difficult is that the AFC West looks incredible. Like this Broncos team, I have zero qualms about saying they'd be the winners of the AFC South. Just absolute trash division. Terrible.
The leaders just lost to the Jets.
Yeah. God, terrible. But the AFC West is really tough. So maybe, but you'd still be over 500 with everything you want to accomplish still within your grasp in front of you. So you'd have to rally the troops, obviously, and this is a big win. But it's going to be interesting to see how the Broncos bounce back on this one. Also, I wanted to get to this one from Martin because I think this is an interesting point as well, and I kind of hinted at it earlier, but I wanted to circle back from Martin on Facebook. Thank you for joining us this morning, Martin. Harbaugh brought pressure all day and totally nullified our offense. On the other hand, once again, Fangio continues to bring no pressure game in and game out, and that drives me nuts. There's something so romantic about the blitz that I just don't. Maybe it's because everything circles back to Iowa, but the Iowa Hawkeyes rarely blitz, and they haven't given up more than 24 points in a game in 27 games in a row. They keep 7 back, and they pick you off all day, and because they can get pressure with 4. That's when magic happens on defense.
That's what's romantic to me is pressure with a front 4.
That's man.
If you can get pressure with a front 4, you are a dangerous defense. Doesn't matter what else that goes on behind you. Everybody else is going to get better if you can get pressure with a front 4.
Yep. And I feel like there is something to say about your personnel with the Broncos they have right now. Like Alexander Johnson, 3rd and 5. Is he going to be better dropping in space and playing, a hook zone, or is he going to be better blitzing an A gap? There's something to be said there, but I just think there's different ways to play great defense. And we know what Vic Fangio's scheme is. If you're blitzing, you're not playing as much of the 2 high shells that you see pre-snap. And it's just, the integrity of what you're trying to run there kind of falls apart. So I wanted to circle back, though, about Harbaugh bringing pressure. That's Wink Martindale bringing pressure, the defensive coordinator, one of the higher blitz rate guys in the NFL. I think we're going to see teams. We saw the first 3 weeks, teams are like, okay, Broncos, we're not going to let them run the ball. We're going to make Teddy beat us. All right, that's fine. This week they said, okay, run the ball. We're going to take away the big plays that Teddy Bridgewater has been getting and get pressure on you with blitzes. Broncos are going to have to figure out something now because now there's a blueprint out there, and you bet your butt that every single defense they're going to go against going forward here is going to say, okay, look how bad they looked when that offensive line was not able to handle the blitz. They weren't able to communicate very well. Now, you're not always going to have 2 essentially first-time starters at the guard position, making it tougher. Also, Teddy's not typically going to be as poor as he was in this game. It was the low game for him. But you're going to see teams definitely come out and try to mimic what the Ravens did. And the Broncos and Shermer are going to have to go back to the tape and figure out, okay, what are the answers now? Because now we have more questions given what the Ravens put on tape against this Broncos offense.
Well, and to that same extent, I think that, I watched the Detroit Lions have success, but they were getting pressure with their front 4 and dropping 7 into coverage, and they were just building a net around Lamar. So they were containing him. Mm-hmm. In this case, even if you were containing Lamar, his receivers were getting free. So, and catching the ball. I said, you can't game plan around Marquise Brown dropping 3 pretty easy passes. That's not sustainable. And it wasn't, he picked it up and made up for it. So, I believe in pressure again, but you've got to be able to set the edges. You almost need pressure up the middle and be able to set the edges in order to contain Lamar. But not getting pressure, even when you're rushing 5 and taking a man out of coverage, that's a recipe for disaster. And Lamar had a great game. He was the best player on the field. You're gonna have a hard time beating the Ravens when Lamar Jackson plays like the best player on the field.
Yeah, and again, we were talking a lot about the defense because we have such high expectations for the defense. But this is a game where the defense didn't play amazing, but you're not always going to come out there like the expectations for the best defense in the NFL. Like I think people maybe we're still too close to that 2015 defense, which was historic. And I've said on here a million times, you know how hard it is. There's a reason it's called historic, right? Like it's once in an organizational history that the Broncos had a defense that good.
If once,
yeah,
if you're lucky to get them once.
Yep, exactly. So that's the issue with expecting a defense that good. At some point, the onus is going to fall on the offense to get it done and answer when the defense wilts. And this was a game where the offense put the defense in a bad situation all around. But the offensive line was bad. The receivers left wanting as well. I mean, Noah Fant with 10 targets, 6 receptions, but only like 40 yards on those 6 catches against 2 Ravens linebackers who had been struggling overall. I mean, you don't want to see that. Albert Okwuegbunam with a drop. The only guys in the offense I'm really saying, good job too. I thought Lloyd Cushingberry was good considering the circumstance around him was bad with 2 new guards. I thought he actually was competent, which is as good as I can say about Lloyd through his career so far for Denver. And both running backs were great overall. So I'll say that. And also I wanted to say, somebody mentioned it on here. Caden Stearns looks like the Broncos got a good one in day 3 of the NFL draft. And I know that Kareem Jackson is somebody that a lot of the fans like. He brings a lot of energy. But if the Broncos want to save, $2-3 million this offseason and get younger on the defense, faster on the defense, I think 2022, Caden Stearns looks like the guy who's lining up to be that starting safety opposite Justin Simmons and not Jamar Johnson. So Caden had a great game. Excited to see that, and it's great to get more depth, youth, cost control players on that back end of that defense going forward.
I like Duke's question coming here. Why don't we get a bigger D-line that can push the inside? Because those guys are hard to find.
Yeah.
They're it seems easy enough, and it seems like you've been going against a lot of them. 300 pounders with agility, they get paid a lot of money. Those guys that are doing that are getting pressure from the inside, that can get pressure with a front four, that don't need any help. They're going to be one of your top 3 highest paid players on your team. They're hard to find. And if they're available, they get drafted high. There wasn't one of those guys available. I think Christian Barmore was the highest drafted interior type of guy. And he went, did he even go first round? I think he went late first. He fell to the second.
Yep.
So, there wasn't anybody available in this last draft. That's how crazy it is to find. I mean, we take it for granted as football fans, but getting guys between 6 foot and 6'3" that are 300 to 320 pounds that move like middle linebackers, they're pretty rare. And if you've got the chance to take a guy like that in the draft, or someone pops up to you in free agency, or you get lucky, then you keep them. I'll use Grady Jarrett for an example. The old saying in basketball, old saying, was if you're going to miss on a 7-footer. For me, it's almost like if you're going to miss in the draft or free agency, miss on a 300-pounder with good athleticism, or miss on a 4-3 receiver. Let's miss on a guy with speed, but miss on somebody that's got the plus attributes. But those guys are hard to find. They're not. It's not that easy to do just a plug and play. You're lucky you've got a few. The Falcons have one in Grady Jarrett right now. He's still considered undersized. So I appreciate the thought, because I always, Nick and I all go back and forth on this all the time. You get me a good defensive lineman, I'm happy in the second, third, fourth round. Best player available, whatever, in the top. But second, third, fourth round, you get me a good D lineman, I'm happy, because you need a bunch of them and they're hard to find.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's really, I almost want to throw this game out from the Broncos defensively because of how difficult it is to scheme against Lamar Jackson with how much window dressing they do and how much that can neuter your pass rush. Schematically, these guys have to stay home and stay disciplined, and that makes it really difficult to get home. So we're going to find out a lot about this Broncos defense, I think, against the Steelers here. This is a good matchup for the defense. The question is, can the offense do enough where they can help out the defense and not be totally overwhelmed? And I will say, guys, we saw, Teddy Bridgewater had a bad game. Drew Lock came in and played worse, slightly worse. And I'm very concerned if Teddy can't go in this game. This is the type of game where you need your quarterback to not lose the game, because the Broncos defense should be able to dictate some. I really am fearful of a turnover-prone quarterback coming in and coughing the game away.
I'd still, if Drew Lock wants to, I want to see a quarterback get a full game, a full week of preparation as a starter, going in the game as a starter, and then starting the whole game before I'm going to, and even then, I'm not going to judge, just like you're ready to throw out the defense on this game, I'm not going to judge Drew Lock on this game. The difference is you've got a lot more track record with Drew Lock. You're like, well, Drew Lock hasn't changed. Well, if he has to go, let's see him as a starter. It's tough to come in against the Baltimore Ravens team when, especially if you're going to abandon the run, and your offensive line isn't holding up. What the hell is he supposed to do? Lawrence coming in with more stars. Appreciate you, Lawrence. Says defense didn't play once they lose hope. And you've seen they lost hope when the coaches let that long play get over the top by play calling the wrong play. There's a lot of that goes on. Then, the defense can only hold for so long that if they don't get picked up by the offense, they're going to break. And we've seen the other direction the last 3 weeks. Close games. And all of a sudden, the Broncos kick a field goal. The Broncos get a touchdown. 3-0 turns into 6 to 9 to 16. And all of a sudden, it's 27 and this thing's out of reach. It worked the other way this week, where the offense was not helping out the defense at all. And they're eventually going to break. So that's a good comment. Appreciate you.
Yeah. And let's get to this from actually real quick. I wanted to say Clayton, always coming in, super supportive, says, smash the like button, guys, and also love the show, guys. Well, thank you so much, Clayton. Hope you're having a good Tuesday and hope the week is treating you well so far. I know it's in the fledgling stage, but hopefully it's a good one for you. Robert Caslow also coming in and saying, is Bridgewater not playing this week? I do not think we are going to find that out until we're closer. Hopefully for Thursday's show, we'll have a better idea.
No, and Robert, that's not what I meant. I wasn't making that comment. I was just making that as an outsider watching the Broncos, I'm not going to pass judgment on Drew Lock based on what I saw in the second half of that game. I'll get closer to making an opinion if I were to see him playing a full game with this, and hopefully, getting some of his weapons back, getting some of these players back, and wouldn't it be fun to see at least a 90% team of Denver Broncos? Because right now, what were they down? 8 starters, 8 out of 22. That's about 60%. You're missing 40% of your team. I want to hit some Twitch guys. Twitch guys coming in here.
Twitch.
Jay Wusu 989. So watching the end of the first half reminds me that Fangio is a defensive coordinator posing as a head coach. There's something to be said to that. There's not a ton of defensive guys. If you look at the balance of who gets the head coaching position, it's probably 3-1 offense. Now, some of the most successful guys in the history of this game were defensive guys, including Bill Belichick. But I don't plan for the anomaly. And there's something to be said for that. And Stoldcombe Tim coming in on Twitch too. More concerning is the way some of the offensive players acted when Locke came on. I didn't see any of that. I'm watching a condensed game. I'm watching just plays. So I was not able to see body language and that type of thing. Some of it, if we're trying to give benefit of the doubt, how about, their concern for Teddy Bridgewater? And it could have been anybody. It could have been a letdown that Teddy's out. And to your point, just put in any name there. It's more concerning is the way some of the offensive players came on when any backup quarterback came on after Bridgewater came out. It's up to them as professionals to step up and support the guy that's coming in. And it might not have had anything to do with Drew Lock. It might have. Trying to see both sides of that, but I get your point.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Zach Phillips here. Let's play a drinking game. Anytime Nick blames Locke, take a drink. Well, careful. I don't want you to get alcohol poisoning or too much caffeine.
If you did the flip, did the flip side of that, and we did it with the Mile High Huddle and praising Locke and blaming Drew, good Lord, you'd be blitzed all day long. Yeah,
gosh. Did you see, speaking of dunking on Locke, this is just me bringing up facts here. Something somebody said, no interpretation here. It was DJ Jones for the Bengals, who was the Broncos heavily pursued him 2 off seasons ago. And he said, listen, they both offered me deals, but who do you want to go play with? You want to go play with Joe Burrow or Drew Lock? So, is what it is. I don't think that there's nobody believes in Drew Lock more than the people who were pulling for him in the Broncos fandom. So I think also to circle back to your point, Teddy Bridgewater, I think it was much more about Teddy Bridgewater getting hurt and how much this team has rallied around Teddy, the person in that locker room, and the belief that they had in those first 3 games after he played competent, good football. It was DJ Reader, not DJ Jones. You're correct. Thank you so much for the correction there over on Twitter, Stone Cold Tim. But I think it's more so about Teddy Bridgewater and how much they like him, have rallied around him, his energy, et cetera, et cetera. And DeAndre Witherspoon with a good comment here. I'll get back to Dylan here. Teddy's energy is infectious, and his leadership and intangibles is a big thing. And it very much is. So I think they were just like, maybe they thought they had a chance with Teddy in there. He was rallying them at halftime or et cetera, et cetera. And, then the concussion makes it an issue for them. So I think it's probably as much about just being concerned about Teddy and just the way the game was going in general. And, people are saying, oh, here we go again. Well, with the offense struggling and maybe everything going that way, it's just everything kind of pointing that way. So unfortunate.
Well, everything went against you in this game. It's not going to be like that every week. Coaching decisions, injuries, and the injuries are a big part of it.
Yep.
Ronald Darby coming back. It's time to start getting Jerry Jeudy's got to be getting close, right?
Yep.
Couple weeks, it's time to start getting some of these guys back that aren't on season-ending injuries. Glasgow, hopefully he's going to be back soon because right now he's a better option than Muti at right guard. He just is. He might not be great, and I certainly think that's the first name I'm circling when I'm the general manager on how to manage the salary cap. I don't think you're going to see something happen with him at the end of the year with either a new deal or something. Because he's certainly not playing like a top 5 guard, but he's getting paid top 5 guard money. But that's irrelevant for the season right now. You need him in this team. He's a better player right now. Yeah,
I agree. So the Broncos hopefully will keep getting healthier, and just one game. We'll circle back here on some final points. Dylan Von Ark's coming in saying, make sure you hit that like button on the way in. Make sure you also, if you haven't done it yet, do it on the way out. Also, if that's Facebook and YouTube, also Facebook user, keep the positivity. I just think we need a little bit of a perspective on this game. And I tweeted it after the game was over. This was a stinker of a game. And I get a lot of people in the moment of the game are hyped up emotional because
the gut reaction.
You're fans, right? You're fans. This is you have an emotional investment, and that's great. But I'm very much it's probably because my science and statistical analysis background where it's like, bleep bloop, like robot, what's the bottom line here? It's one game. The Broncos were not going to go 17-0 this season. We knew they had questions to answer, and this was a test, and the Broncos failed this test.
Mm-hmm.
You have, it's like, we'll make it an example like school, because I was in college for freaking ever. You took a multiple, daily quizzes, and you're doing great on those daily quizzes. They're not worth very much on your final grade, but they add up. And that was the Broncos' first 3 games. And then you had your first big test in this game. Teacher handed it back face down to you, and you saw that you got a D. Let's say you got a D. You're right now in you have a D- in the class or something because of that, whatever, or a C. Let's say a C, because the Broncos are still 3-1. Your season's not sunk because you had one bad test. You have many tests to come where you can answer the questions and make it up. So sorry to get the scholastic nerd example here for you guys.
Obviously, you can tell Nick was a much better student than I was, because I was the guy that showed up on the first day of class, picked up the syllabus, got zeros on homework and quizzes and A's on my tests the 4 days that I showed up in class, and took my C and left.
My mother is a teacher, so I did not have much of an option there, especially she was a teacher in the schools that I was at. So if I was doing that, she would know. There's no hiding it. Definitely something that you want to think about here. It's just one game. We got a lot of games to go. Hopefully this team will respond, and they're going to have to respond, right? Like there's no option about that. How badly they played. There's new stuff on tape that Shermer, they're going to have to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, why did this happen this way? Why did it look this way? Hopefully they don't just excuse it away with, a rookie offensive line or young offensive line on the interior that hasn't worked together as a unit. You also have obviously bad games from the quarterback, but there was schematic stuff here that the Broncos are going to need to figure out what went wrong here, because teams are going to try to mimic this against them going forward.
And I like Jeremy's comment here. He's kind of echoing what you're saying. It was supposedly a huge game. We didn't show up. How as a competitor do you let that happen? It happens. It happens. The momentum goes against you, and momentum to me is so crazy because you can feel it. You can see it. You see it go back and forth, but you know it's there. It's like the force. It's there, but there's no way to grab it. There's no way to grab hold of it and say, give me some of that momentum, except to go out and take it. It's just strange, the mental aspect and how much the belief changes how people play. And the mental aspect of this game, I think it's fascinating. But like you said, if they don't respond Sunday, I'm pretty worried. They have to. Then it's time to get a little worried. You come out of this 3-2, not even 3-2. I'm not even going to say a loss, but if you come out and play the same way and get dominated the way you dominated the other 3 teams, then I'm starting to have some concerns. So I agree with you. That's a good comment.
Yep, 100%. We got God bless you, Jetty, coming in right now with the super chat. Man, you guys are starting to scare me a little bit. I was gonna have to Chad. Oh, there goes the lights. No, it's Jetty Splash coming in with a $5 super. Thank you very much, Jetty. I said no one is talking about our 2 guards being pushed around all day, leaving room for sacks and disrupting plays. What? Well, I feel like we've talked about that a good bit actually on this show today. I thought both of them were pretty good in the run game, and to go away from the run game when the game was still 1-2 possessions was a big mistake. That was probably the biggest coaching failure. I mean, if you ask Shermer right now, why'd you go away from the run game? He's like, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. Obviously hindsight's 2020, but that was a big issue. And hopefully you'll get those guys, at least one of those guys, back healthy this week. And that'll help the offense look good. But also, I mean, how much the interior cohesion and chemistry matters for a team that blitzes and shows blitz and brings pressure from different areas. Somebody to the line and drops back. You have to have really good communication and cohesion with that unit, and start popping in 2 new guards. That makes it so hard to do. So, and
Nick, it's not just any 2 guards. It's Quinn Miners and Muti. What are their strengths? If you're going to say, what do I need to do to protect these guards? What is it? What are their strengths? They're people movers.
Yep. Run block. Yep.
Their run blocking is their strengths. Forget the fact if they're, and it's probably always going to be their strengths. And forget the fact that they're young, and that's the best way to protect a young player is to run. It was a mistake, just flat out, to giving up on the run too early. So I agree, and we can move on. We talked a little bit about him earlier, Jetty, that Glasgow coming back will make this a better offensive line because he's better than Moody right now. I know it. When you see somebody struggle, you say, man, I want the next guy. It's just natural. The old phrase, the most popular guy on the team is a backup quarterback. I never blame a player for not being good enough. That's not his fault. If Graham Glasgow is not good enough, is he still better than the guy behind him? Yeah, he is. Now it's up to me as a general manager to upgrade that position. And it's up to those guys to do the best they can and give the best effort and have the best attitude. If they're not good enough, that's up to me. That's up to me to either, one, protect them as a coach, or two, to get better at that position. And I promise you, with that price tag on Graham Glasgow right now, he's got a big red circle around his name, and he knows it.
Yep, exactly. But thank you so much, Jetty. We appreciate you. Also, Air Mason coming in saying, best podcast. We appreciate that too, Air. Hopefully we're adding a little bit of levity to the loss. And what makes Broncos country, or just any fan base, really toxic? It's if you're coming off of a season with a pretty harsh quarterback battle and a team then loses their first big test and both quarterbacks look bad. Everybody's upset. There's no finger. Everybody's just mad at everything. So hopefully we'll get a little bit better. And Stone Cold coming in saying the backup on this team isn't that popular. Depends on who you ask.
I would say depends on the time of day. Depends on the time of day.
Yep. But guys, yeah, we got to start wrapping it up here. Also, it looks like my internet's saying I have one bar now. I don't know what's going on.
He just got the ding from his internet saying, okay, you've had enough.
Oh, now 2 bars. We're good. Okay, let's keep but guys, yeah, no, it's one game. Broncos lost. We still have 13 more games to go this season. Broncos are 3-1. They took care of business in those first 3 games. They didn't look pretty in this game. But hopefully you're going to start to see guys getting healthier on here.
So
you're not going to play
games 6-7. No, 7-6.
Yep.
7-6. 7-6 gets you 10-7.
Yep, absolutely. But I think that this team, this was a wake-up call, and unfortunate that how this game felt, similar to years past. But the Broncos in this game, out-schemed, outclassed, outplayed, outcoached.
Out-press conference.
Whatever you want to say. Yeah, this was a game that was bad. But it was one game against a team that the Ravens, they've always had this in them. They haven't shown this on tape yet this season as far as playing this good. But they showed it in this game. They played to their full potential, especially with Lamar throwing like he did. Sometimes you tip your cap and the other team beats you. This Broncos team was nobody, at least, people were feeling pretty high after the 3-0 start, but coming into the season, what do we say? Fringe playoff team. Hopefully it gets in. Tough AFC West. We're right in the same spot. And the Broncos took care of business in those first 3 games. You lost to the Ravens. Now you go to Pittsburgh against a team that has the worst offensive line in football, a quarterback who can't throw it past the sticks very often. Can the Broncos offense do enough to not get in the way of the Broncos defense pinning their ears back? We'll see.
Nick, we're back on tonight, and I don't think Carl's back yet, so it's probably going to be me again. Sorry. I like the line from 51st State. Sorry, I'm not better looking. But I'm going to go back, and I want to dig up our archive Broncos for Breakfast where we did our season predictions, because I'm not sure I had the Broncos even going 3-1 at this point. And this was going to be I think I had a losing record after 7 games, and then the schedule eases up and you start piling on some wins. So again, hindsight's 20/20, but 3-1 after the first month of the season. The last one stings a little bit, but as has been said several times today, we need to see a response. We need to see a response from the professionals against Pittsburgh. They're beatable. Yep.
Blood in the water for both teams right now, but let's see who's the better predator on defense. And hopefully the Broncos will be getting a little healthier on that offensive line, will make a difference. And hopefully if the Steelers try to replicate, and they are a very good front 7 team, probably more talented than the Ravens front 7 on their own, not as blitz happy as Ravens, but hopefully the Broncos can get that run game going again and not abandon in this one. But we'll see what happens. But guys, thank you guys so much for joining us today. You guys are amazing. Fallen Sloth saying make sure to drop a like before you go today. Michael Ronquillo coming back in. Great show today on Broncos for Breakfast. Go Broncos. Obviously, we also got Dylan Van Arks saying great conversation. As always, everyone, make sure you hit that like button on the way out. A little bit goes a long way. And thank you for everybody who did the stars and super chats and whatnot, as well as a little bit of a slower day today. I'm going to start doing that when turning off the lights. When
start dimming the lights.
Yeah, hopefully. But no, we appreciate everybody who came in. and did that. Make sure you guys are following Scott and myself on Twitter, Scott at Scout Kennedy, and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. Also follow us at Huddle Up Pod and Mile High Huddle. On Facebook, go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod to join the community. Like, subscribe, and share. Oh, my dog jumping around the kennel there. Subscribe, like, and share. If you guys are on YouTube today, and also go over to Scott's channel, youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy, where we're going to be talking about the Falcons tomorrow and Cordero Patterson's big game for them on my bench in fantasy.
Speaking
I still
of
want.
not knowing how to use your best player.
Yeah. 30 points, though.
And the Falcons.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for joining today. Hopefully the Broncos will get healthier. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of your week, and put that game behind you. If you go the next season, what is it now? I know it's a 17 game schedule now, but I think I always enjoyed the mentality of, you cut the season into 4 quarters. Broncos went 3-1 in that first slightly under a quarter. If you do that, if you keep replicating that, or even go 2-2 a couple of these times coming up, you're going to be fine. That's
3-0, 500 to playoff team.
Yep. 100%. So hopefully it'll get better, guys. We had a little bit of bitter reality, but on to the next one. Shout out to Dave coming in here late, saying technical difficulties. Cheers. I need to go get some more coffee because yesterday I took a day off and through hiked the Enchantments in Washington, which was 20.5 miles and 5.5K elevation gain. So I am absolutely beat. My legs are dead. I'm actually in a wheelchair. No, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Love y'all. Scott, what's going on the rest of the day for you?
I'm reading Morons. There's no quarter we play 3 of the 5 NFL's worst teams. So you got to get better. Yep. You dominated those 3. So you got to play better than you did against the Ravens. So I agree. It's not going to get any easier. So get better, get healthy, and do all those things. Today, international break. I hate international breaks. I usually watch soccer in the middle of the day. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do. And with all this rain, probably means I'm going to go hit a treadmill somewhere to get in my work.
Maybe it's time for some college tape. Starting to get the draft prospects in line here. And
of course, I also heard Liverpool-Manchester City was the best game of the year, so I might watch that one too, the second half of that one. That's what beauty. You might say soccer is boring. Yeah, but it's only boring for like 45 minutes. Yeah. That's 2 minutes of an NBA game, so the clock's running, so it's nice. So we'll see. Sure. I'll probably watch a little Pittsburgh Steelers to get ready and rewatch Ravens Denver. I want to see Drew Lock a little bit more in case he has to play, because we'll be back tonight. We got a lot more to talk about.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we'll see you guys tonight at 6:00 Mountain Time. But until then, stay safe. Go Broncos.
Head on over to milehighhuddle.com for all things Broncos.